Hello everybody and welcome back to World Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are finally taking our very first look at the Tier 4 Cavour, the new Italian Tier 4 tech tree battleship. Obviously we are running Azurlane Littorio as our commander. We have Azurlane Scharnhorst and Paolo de Revel as our inspirations. We have Flammable Cannoneer, Gyrating Drill Bits, Marksmanship, and Reaching Out XXL with Will to Rebuild as our legendary perk. Now, obviously, if you do not have these commanders, what I would recommend, obviously, is Paolo de Revel. If you look at Paolo de Revel, I use Charles Madden, and if you don't have Scharnhorst, maybe go with Andrew Cunningham as a secondary inspiration to help with your dispersion a little bit. It helps with the grouping. But I use not one for the nuisance, Artisan's Touch, Firefighter, and Master Mechanic with Will to Rebuild. Now, the Artisan's Touch is something that I actually reported wrong the first time that I read it. I misread it. I think I confused it with the perk for the cruisers. And anyway, what Artisan's Touch does, it increases the AP shell penetration rating of all of your battleship's main battery at the cost of a lower chance of a Citadel hit. It increases the shell penetration multiplier, but it also increases the time to detonation of your battleship's AP shells. Where I read it wrong previously was I think that I said that it reduces the time to detonation of your battleship's AP shells, which is not true. So what does this mean? This means that you have more penetration on your shells. However, they are also more likely to pass straight through the enemy given the amount of extra time on the arming of the shells. So on things like cruisers, you're probably more likely to overpin than actually citadel them. Okay? Battleships, not so much, but definitely on cruisers. Okay? So keep that in mind. But this is the other build if you don't have the freaking Azurlane commanders, okay? But we are going to be sticking with Azurlane Littorio because I like consistency, and this is the best way to get consistency out of your guns, is to have the dispersion built. Yes, it's bullcrap that they put it behind a paywall. I get that. But unfortunately, it's what we have to deal with at the moment. So, anyway, look at our upgrades. We are running the Aiming Systems Mod 1. We are fully upgraded. We have just 4 heals and 3 enhanced secondary targeting consumables. Or not, yeah, consumables. We have the Alpha Tester flag. Again, this does absolutely nothing. It's purely cosmetic. That's all it is. Type 3 camo, though, it decreases our detectability and it increases the incoming fire dispersion by 3%. Yes, I could go higher than that, but I kind of like this camo. So, there you go. Stats. For survivability, we have 38,700 hit points with a 16% damage reduction from torpedoes. For artillery, you have 305mm 46 caliber Vickers turn-in model 1909s. You get 2 dual turrets of 305mm guns. So 4 of those. And then you have 305mm 46 caliber Vickers Tourney model 1909s that you have a 3x3 configuration, meaning you get 9 of those. So you get 9 guns in the triples, and you get 4 guns in the doubles, for a total broadside of 13 guns. I know, it's odd, but hey, it's effective. Firing range of 15.9 kilometers with a 28.4 second reload with this build. 180-degree turn time is 40 seconds. With HE shells that do 4,200 damage and have a 30% chance to set fire. And AP shell maximum damage of 8,910. For secondaries, you have 120mm 50 caliber Vickers 1909. You get 18 of them, so 9 per side of the ship. And they reach out to 3.7 kilometers. They reload in just 3 seconds. And they fire SAP shells with a maximum shell damage of 2,800. Now, just to remind everybody what SAP is, SAP stands for Semi-Armor Piercing. Basically, it is a hybrid shell of an armor piercing and a high explosive or high capacity round. And so They smush them together, and what you get is something in between. Something with more penetration than the HE normally would have, but with no chance of setting fires. So you have a trade-off there. That being said, they are very effective when they get to be used. Now, obviously, getting to use them is a whole other story. Why is that? Because they only fire out to 3.7 kilometers. And if you put everything into building these, I think you could probably get these out to like 5.5 kilometers. So, kind of good for like when you're in those 1v1 situations, but other than that, it's not going to get you a whole lot. For AA defense, you have 37mm 54 caliber Beretta 1939s. You get 8 of those, doing 71 damage per second, reaching out to 3.5 kilometers. Then you've got the 76mm 40 caliber and Soldo 1917s that you have 6 of, doing 13 damage per second and reaching out to 3 kilometers. So, not good. But it's tier 4. Basically, nothing has good AA at tier 4 except maybe Texas. Maneuverability, maximum speed is 19.8 knots with a turning circle of 620 meters, which is very good. Rudder shift time is 12.6 seconds, which is average. You could build into that if you wanted to, but the turning circle itself is pretty good. So while the rudder may take a little bit to get moving, once it does get moving, it turns pretty good. Concealment, detectability range by sea, 12.7 kilometers. Detectability by air is 10.4 kilometers. Guaranteed detectability is 2 kilometers. And detectability while firing at smoke is 10 kilometers. For armor, you have very, very good armor. And let's go over this. So, right off the bat, you can see that we have an 85mm icebreaker bow. And it wraps all the way around the bow. There is no little gap in the front where the two plates come together. It is one full plate that goes around the bow. Okay, so keep that in mind. 85mm cannot be overmatched by anything. Period. Okay, so the downside is it's not 85mm everywhere. As you can see, it's just an icebreaker, and everywhere else you still have that tier 4 19mm bow. So if you are going up against this and you do overmatch it, all you have to do is aim high. If you aim towards the guns a little bit, chances are you're going to get penetrations through that deck and upper bow plating. But that being said, it is a very, very good belt. Okay? Let's get rid of that. Get rid of the little torpedo bulges, which is hilarious because they're so deep. Like, these bulges are so deep. I don't think anything's actually going to hit those torpedo bulges. At least not in this game, unless it's deep water torpedoes from the Pan-Asians. But for superstructure, we don't really care. The deck armor, though, this is the interesting part. Let's get rid of the turrets so that you guys can see the deck armor. It has turtleback armor, as you can see. The deck armor overlaps the citadel at an angle, which means that you have some protection there. It means up close and personal, you're not likely to be citadel while you're broadside. However, it does not mean that you can stay broadside to people because you will still get blapped out of existence. It is still very easy to chunk you. Even if you're not hitting for multiple citadels and depth striking these things, you're still going to be hitting for 15 to 20k if they overangle. And why is that? Well, it is very good armor, but you can see it's very high out of the water and very, very flat. Which means that you can pin this thing from very, very steep angles, even though it has very good side armor. So keep that in mind. Especially with American battleships, you have very, very good armor penetration angles, so you can slap these things out of existence pretty quickly. 2 or 3 salvos, this guy is down if he's caught trying to get his guns online or whatever. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, as you can see, the belt is 250 millimeters right there at the waterline. And it's not a very high belt out of the water, but it does offer you some protection there. And then where you don't have that 100 or 250, you still have 130, which means if you angle properly, ain't nothing going through it. But you have to angle it properly. You can't be over-angling, because if you do, as we just mentioned, you will be slapped. Hard. Even if it ain't citadels. Slapped. Okay? If we get rid of that and look at the citadel, you can see it is a very low citadel in the water. Barely comes up above the waterline. It kind of like, about the only time that you're going to get this citadel above the waterline consistently is if they are in a heavy turn. And I think it has to be a heavy turn towards you in order to raise that citadel. And once that happens, you might be able to sneak a shot in there. But again, that turtleback armor is going to stop you from citadeling more often than not. Okay? So keep that in mind. Alright, so let's look at the overview. Guns aplenty. High number of guns allows for a lot of damage from a single salvo. Frail. Below average base HP rating. There's only one ship in the game that I know of that has more guns than this thing. Main guns, that is. And that would be the, oh god, I lost the Leon. Good lord. 16 main guns. Whereas this has 13 main guns. So keep that in mind. If you go broadside to this thing, expect to get blapped. It's gonna hurt. Okay? So let's take a look at her. Honestly, it's not the worst looking ship. It is a little weird. All these outriggers, I'm not exactly sure what they are. I'm sure they have a purpose. Maybe somebody can tell me what these do. I don't know if we can zoom in. But I'm talking about all these little outriggers here. I'm assuming it has something to do with the nets here. I don't know if those are torpedo nets or what. Like if this thing can put like, I don't know, the nets down if it's expecting a torpedo. I don't know. I'm throwing this out there. It's either that or this thing does some fishing on the side. I don't know. But I don't know what else these nets could be used for. But I'll be interested to hear your guys' comments on it. But honestly, it's not a bad-looking ship. It is a little unconventional, but it is an older ship, so you can expect that. And the gun placement isn't too terrible. You got a triple and a twin over each end of the ship, and then you got a triple turret in the middle. It's just an interesting design. I kind of like it. But yeah, let's take a look around the rest of it, shall we? As you can see, the superstructure is actually built into the funnel at the front, which is interesting. I bet that gets warm. And you know there was probably leaks, so it probably gets pretty smoky in there too. But yeah, not a bad looking ship overall. And with that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Ring in the Cavour. And, you know, sometimes you just step in it. You ever have that where you just, you do something and then all of a sudden you find yourself versing pretty much everybody? You ever do that? I do it a lot. And it doesn't always end well. But when it does, it can end in a pretty solid video. So hopefully you guys enjoy. We got a doozy here today. Now, obviously, I tell people this all the time. I don't consider myself anything more than an above average player, okay? There are players that are way better than me. Period. It just is a fact. But that being said, I still enjoy the game. I do have a lot of fun, and I am better than the majority of the players that play the game. Hence the above average title, okay, that I placed over it. But anyway, we're going to push off to the right side, and we're going to show you what proper angling and good marksmanship can do against the majority force that should overrun us. Okay, we have a Koenig here. Right off the bat, you'll see that I have HE loaded. I'm fairly confident this was my very first match ever in the Cavour, which is why we fired HE. But I could be wrong. But we're going to angle back in. Again, the Dreadnought Shuffle comes in real handy, and we've talked about that amazing armor. It doesn't take much angle to completely negate that, that hit from the Koenig. Like, he did nothing to us. We did get set on fire by the Montecuccoli, unfortunately, or the Montecuccoli, however you want to say it. But yeah, definitely could have gone better. But we get a good shot there. We managed to get us up to, oh, as we get slapped. Yeah, this is the downside here. What happened there is he actually went through the upper bow plating that we talked about earlier, where he slapped us pretty good. But don't worry. We're going to be okay. Nevada decides to go full broadside in front of us, and we're going to show him why that's a bad idea when you have a dispersion build commander on your Italian battleship, as we reach out and we punch that man right in the mouth for 13,000 damage. We'll take that. We'll take it all day. That's a trade. He didn't hit us, and we slapped the crap out of him. Now, obviously, we've got to start considering the fact that there is a multitude of ships heading in our direction. So, the Koenig just fired his guns. We do have another battleship behind him, but he's a little bit trailing. So, it's either this Koenig and a cruiser versus us, essentially. Now, here you'll see I'm at half speed. I have slowed down. I'm contemplating life choices on what I'm going to do next. I know I need to turn out. I don't want to get into a fight with all of these guys at once. Montecuccoli comes around the corner. Our Königsberg dies to a destroyer of all things. I don't get it either, but it happens. But Montecuccoli here is just begging for it at this point. Like, I don't know what he's thinking. Being this close to a battleship is never going to end in your favor at any tier in a cruiser, let alone broadside in an Italian cruiser. As we citadel him and slap him right in the mouth. Now, the thing is, we are reversing. We're trying to keep ourselves away. We didn't want to make the full turn away. We didn't want to get slapped for our trouble, okay? We've already showcased, you over-angle in this thing, you're gonna get slapped. So what we're trying to do here is limit who can shoot us. So we're trying to use the island to keep the, I think it's, what was it, the New Mexico? Forget. Whatever. Or it was Nevada, wasn't it? The American battleship. That's another Cavour, actually. The American battleship is trailing even further. So we're going to use another heal here. This is our second heal already. And we are officially limiting who can hit us. Koenig is looking at us. And again, we do know we overmatched. That's one thing I will tell you about the Tier 4 battleships. The unique thing about Tier 4 battleships, it is the one tier where all of the battleships overmatch each other. You just got to know who has an icebreaker, and that Koenig definitely has an icebreaker. Hence the reason I aimed high. I wanted those shells to hit that deck / upper bow plating so that we could get the overmatch. And the closer he gets, the easier that's going to be. Also, he's getting precariously close to... Never mind. So much for that. I was like, he's getting precariously close to being in range of our secondaries. But we've lost a total of 10,000 overall hit points up to this point. We're doing pretty solid. Like, we are in good shape here. We've already gotten rid of one guy. Obviously, we didn't get the kill, but he's gone mostly because of us. We've got a Cavour out here whose name is Beowulf, so I feel pretty good about this. We're going to come around here and slap this man. See, he's completely forgotten about us. And I don't understand this. Like, dude knows I'm here. And yet he goes broadside to me to go inside thinking that I wasn't going to come out. Now, he does start to get angled here, but you see I'm going for that upper side plating, and we get a couple of penetrations through that side plating. And now this allows us to turn all the way back around. This was the opening we were looking for. He had just fired his gun, so we know we've got time. By the time he gets loaded, he's not even shooting us. But that just means that it's me versus, what, 3 battleships over here? Two battleships and a cruiser left on this side. And you can see we are angled away, but the man keeps hitting our bow side plating. The one place where we don't have the armor to bounce. Like, it just isn't a thing. Like, he overmatches. So, regardless of angle, he's going through that bow side plating, and that was awful. Those shells are like, I see where you want me to go, but I'm going to say no. Just the way it goes sometimes. RNG giveth, RNG taketh away. But I still like where we're at. You can see, once he hits that belt armor, there's no getting through it for him. Like, we're angled really, really well. And now that he fired, we can over-angle, get our front and middle guns on target, and blap this man, well, hopefully, blap this man, while he's over-angled. And then we can start to turn all the way back out, and hopefully get angled again before we get slapped. Now, the Montecuccoli comes back around. He's charging straight at us. You can see we're making most of his shells miss because we changed directions on him. And then on top of that, anything that did hit us just bounced or shattered. Like, he's got no chance. Montecuccoli gets blapped through the middle by the Koenig. And this leaves it a 2v1, which I am much, much happier about. Without the DPM of that fire starter, even though the fire starters on this particular ship aren't the most dangerous, because it's got really good armor, so they're not usually doing damage, even if they do end up setting fires. They do set fires, obviously, and that's a problem as we get blapped by the Nevada. Of course, we're over-angled to him because we're trying to get our guns on the Cavour. And there's our high caliber, taking us up to 89,000 damage. Now, with it just being these 2 guys left, I'm going to start turning in to go bow in to the Nevada to make sure that we're not going to get blapped anymore. we are also making sure that as soon as we get a shot at this Cavour, we are ready for him. Now, obviously, we've got a shot at the Nevada here. He's over-angled, but the American armor is basically all belt. If you hit anywhere else, you're going to do damage. And we do get a couple of hits that weren't on the belt itself. Now, we are already bow in, and then what we've already talked about, this thing bow in, disgusting. Like, nothing's going through the bow. Maybe if they know to shoot high, they can. He gets one penetration through that bow side plating. Again, dreadnoughts are all about the armor, man. And depending on how you play, you can do really well or you can do really poorly. And we get a good shot here through the upper plating, just showcasing the overmatch. Even though he has the icebreaker, if you aim high, you can get some good, consistent damage. Now, he is going to get one more shot off here, but we're going to open the skirt. We're going to let him shoot at the belt, preferably. And there you have it. He shoots at the belt. He gets basically nothing out of that entire salvo. And now he's over-angled, which means he's dead. There's nothing he can do here. He is not going to get that thing turned in fast enough, and as soon as we get loaded, we get to take it. God darn it, Koenig! Can you leave some of them to die to me, okay? I get it. I get it. You're waiting for the kill shot every chance you get, but please, give me something. Give me something to believe in. But Nevada, he's looking like he's going to eat torps, and Kamikaze actually gets the kill with the freaking guns of all things. You got to love that. But, yeah, we've done everything and we can in this. We ended up with 95,000. Didn't get a kill. Like, what is that? Like, as many people as we got down to no health, we didn't get a single kill. And that Koenig got to reap the benefits of the just me leaving everybody with enough to get away. You know, the Spartan, the guaranteed Spartanism is what I do, right? That is what I'm known for. But we're also going to jump in here and grab this base while we're at it. And preferably get the base cap before anybody gets in here so we get a solo cap. But I don't think so. I think that Kamikaze's headed right into this base to yoink some of my XP away, just like the Koenig had. So it's unfortunate, but it is a thing. I was hoping we could get away with getting in here and getting this base as a solo cap. But unless you have over 50% of the hit points when somebody gets into the base, I don't think you get a solo cap out of it, unfortunately. But either way, we've got torpedo bombers coming in from the right, which means there's a high probability we're about to take some damage, which is going to reset the base. So the fact this guy got into the base, hopefully quick enough that we can not take damage, we get the base cap before this guy hits us, would be preferable. So at the end of the day, it's probably a good thing, the Kamikaze, and oh my god, he screwed up. And we dodge. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. We made him turn at the right time. He wasn't able to get the full dispersion out of his torpedoes. We were able to slip our ship right in the middle. So, hey, I guess I was wrong. But you can see we did manage to shoot down a plane. So there's that. We got 2 planes out of the sky. So a little bit of more XP. And we're moving out towards where the planes are coming from, which is out into those islands. But unfortunately, the coward is going to be hiding behind an island, and we're not going to be able to shoot him. It is just the way it is. And this game's pretty much over. You can see he's spotting us right now. He's actually spotting us. So you can see I'm ready. I'm like, okay, we know he's over here. If he gets spotted, we are going to blap him. But yeah, this game's going to end, unfortunately, before we get a chance to blap him. And, you know, it just is what it is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you don't get to shoot the pigs out of the sky or out of the water. Because, you know, carriers, the biggest ships in the game, and yet the sneakiest. I don't get it either. But either way, we had us a solid game, and I hope you guys enjoyed this first look at the Cavour. Second on the team in overall damage because the yoinking freaking Koenig kept stealing our stuff. But if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.